200 tickets. I don't got any because I'm a kid. Ticket sales. Ticket.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Rockton, Ryan, and Buster.
Okay, make sure everybody goes potty. About an hour and a half ride. Okay, thank you. Get ready to board, you can just hop on board.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I'm hopping.
All right, ready?
Yep, I'm ready to hop on board.
You document me?
Whistle though. That was great. I can let it.
Yes, ma'am.
I need 2 tickets.
2 tickets, all right? It's going to be $34. You're gonna have to let her do that, sweetheart, 'cause
Watch
I
out.
need her money. I have the first name, please.
N-A-D-A-Y-D-R-A.
And last name?
Davis.
Need a fancy name to balance that old of a name, don't you? We have to keep a list of who's on the train for the FRA, so
Gotcha.
it's ready anytime you see.
Okay.
What you need?
I pay extra to be in air conditioning.
We don't have air conditioning. We have open air car, but
I paid $50.
then is your name Cox?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, first of all, I need to give you different tickets.
I told you.
And the cab is not air conditioned. You're just up there with these locomotive with the engineer. But I will give you earplugs and a bottle of water. But, we don't have air conditioning.
So can I just get the difference back and write on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That'll be fine.
Okay. Can I give it to you when you get back?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I'll give it to you when you get back, and I'll swap those out.
Am I good?
It will be just a second.
I didn't want to walk off.
We have,
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll say,
Thank
do
you.
you want
Come on,
to
Kai.
write in that or do you want air conditioning? And I said air conditioning.
Now, the caveat to that is that the engineer can't see from the locomotive all the way down there. That's why the conductor, Mr. Dave,
Sure?
who greeted you with the
Sure.
high-vis jacket and the booty
All
hat.
right.
He will act as the engineer's eyes and ears on the outbound trip. I'm hearing a little airplane engine out there.
Yeah.
We'll be seeing the perimeter fence for the Fairfield County Airport as we make our way down the line today. And chances are we'll see a couple of airplanes out and about because it's not only a good day for a train ride, it's a good day to fly a plane too. Before we leave the yard here at Rockton Station, I'll take some time to point out a couple pieces of equipment that you'll see on the right-hand side.
Shoot, I didn't name my sweater.
On the furthest track from us, you'll notice 2 bi-level commuter coaches that are painted gray, blue, and red. Now, a lot of folks have asked me, are those Amtrak cars? They're not. These cars were built in the 1960s originally for the Chicago and Northwestern Railway, and they were used in commuter service for Chicago and the surrounding suburbs. They served the Chicago area for about 30 years until being sold on to Virginia Railway Express in the 1990s and used in the same capacity around Washington, D.C. and the Virginia metro area.
Sure.
In the 2000s, the cars were purchased by the U.S. Army for speculative use as troop conveyances, but that never came to pass. We currently use those cars on our Santa Claus trains because they're very good at holding a lot of passengers. Unfortunately, it's very awkward for Santa to try to get to the upper level, so we ask passengers to sit on the lower level of the car as he makes his way through, and then once he's clear of those cars, passengers are welcome to ride in the upper level
Because I
if
don't
they
trust
want.
you. You wait till we
somewhere and say you have to eat.
The bluish-green cars that are on the second track from us are also commuter coaches, but these are single-level cars that were built in the 1950s for the Canadian National Railway. And they first saw service out of Montreal, Quebec.
Right here.
Now the blue engines that you see, 1249 and 1275, are sisters of the one that will be pulling and pushing your train today, number 1276. All three of them were built in 1953 by Baldwin Lima Hamilton Corporation of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for the U.S. Air Force. Before they came to the South Carolina Railroad Museum, the three Air Force engines worked at Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter, South Carolina, running trainloads of aviation fuel from a connection with CSX in Sumter to the base. The Air Force diesels are slightly less powerful than the Army diesels. The Air Force engines are rated at 600 horsepower each, but they've still got enough muscle to do the work that we need them to here at this railroad.
I went in and penciled and papered it. We got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
That's okay.
One of the benefits of having the open air car on this end of the train is that you guys get to see what the engineer sees if the locomotive was on this end of the train. Now, I know the South Carolina heat hasn't been doing us any favors over the last few days, but don't worry, the air conditioning in this car works when we get up to 10 miles an hour. Exactly.
I'll see that train.
We're likely waiting on a few more passengers before we start our trip. We've got about another 3 minutes to go. The last two pieces of equipment that I'll point out are on the same siding as the diesel locomotives. Right behind the 1275, the last Air Force diesel in the line, is our Southern Railway dining car, Lake Ryan. This car was built in the mid-1920s for the Southern Railway and was used on a lot of their first-class passenger trains. It was in service for them right up until the 1960s, when the Southern Railway started to dissolve passenger service. And of course, in 1971, the government created Amtrak to take over America's passenger rail services. We run this car on a few select special occasions. We most recently had it on our Santa Claus trains last year, and chances are good we might have it on those trains again this year. The car still retains its original cooking equipment. Unfortunately, it is not operational, but it is retained for historical value. And the last piece of equipment you'll see is a stainless steel passenger car called the T1. The T1 was a testing vehicle developed for the Department of Transportation, and it was used at their testing facility in Pueblo, Colorado. Right now, the interior of the car is being gutted, and it will be turned into a first-class car to be paired with the dining car on select special events.
What's the coverage right there? The coverage right there.
Boarding ramp has been pulled, and the conductor will be joining us for the trip out to Ryan Quarry.
So is the train
We're so glad y'all could ride with us today.
Thank you.
We'll be getting a breeze here in just a second.
Where you going?
See, they close up. She was at 6 o'clock.
I think that's your merchant. The chairman's.
2 blasts of the horn means we're ready to proceed westbound to Ryan Quarry.
And we have a student engineer with us today, so when we get ready to ride, I'm going to ask some questions.
And off we go into the pages of history. On the right-hand side, as we pass by the bi-level cars, you'll notice a small yellow vehicle in front of them with a little trailer. This yellow vehicle is a motor car, otherwise known as a speeder. These were used by the maintenance of way crews to inspect the track and take them to places where the track needed to be repaired. The modern equivalent of this on today's railroads are pickup trucks that are equipped with railroad wheels. These are known as high rails. Now as we leave the yard here at Rockton, we're going to be performing a running brake test. After all, we don't want to leave without working brakes. Now in my time volunteering with 2 different tourist railroads over 16 years, I've learned that there's 4 different types of brakes. The air brake, the hand brake, the emergency brake, and the dum-dum brake. The air brake and the hand brake, self-explanatory. The emergency brake happens when you dump all of the air out of the air brake line and the train stops as soon as it can. The dum-dum brake is where you drag your feet on the ground Flintstone style and pray to God that the train does stop. Fortunately, we won't have to do that here today. In about a quarter mile, we're going to be coming up on the first road crossing of the day at Ryan, Highway 321. I'm getting ahead of myself. As we cross Highway 321, I want you guys to do me a favor and wave to all the cars that we're going to be inconveniencing. They'll either wave back at you or just look on in envy, saying to themselves, man, I wish I was on the train with those cool people. right-hand side, if you look toward the rear of the train, you'll be able to see two of our bay window style cabooses that are available for charter, and the locomotive that's pulling and pushing your train today, number 1276.
Yeah.
Through the buildings over through on the left-hand side through the trees were constructed in 1984 as a plan to build Mack semi-trucks. Mack built trucks at this facility for about 18 years until they merged production with another plant of theirs out in Virginia. In 2006, the property was acquired by Guardian Industries, and for 5 years they made fiberglass insulation at that plant. Today, the plant is owned and operated by a company called The Lily, spelled M-L-I-L-Y. They're a company that makes memory foam mattresses. As we go around this curve now, those of you on the left-hand side, if you look toward the rear, you can see 1276 working away. The black smoke belies her steam heritage. Before Baldwin Lima Hamilton built diesels, they were known as the Baldwin Locomotive Works. And Baldwin was well known for building more steam locomotives than any other builder in America. By the time Baldwin shut down production in 1956, they had produced over 70,000 locomotives of various types. This section of track that we're on right now was laid down in the 1990s when the South Carolina Railroad Museum began excursion operations, because the track originally ran right through where the Malilly plant is. When Mack Truck built those facilities in 1984, they didn't like the idea of a tourist railroad running through the middle of their factory, so the main line was relayed in a huge S-curve around the property. Coming up on the left-hand side, you'll see the spur that goes into the Malilly plant. There's a small orange speeder parked there. And the small red shack up ahead is the switchman shanty. I think there is an airplane passing over us, but there he is. You might be able to see him through the trees on the right-hand side. Now, the switchman shanty over here on the left is where one of our volunteers sits to keep an eye on the switch whenever we run 2 trains a day for special events like the Easter Bunny and Pumpkin Patch. We tend to use the industrial spur as a passing siding. On today was first known as the Rock City Railroad, but was later renamed to the Rockton and Ryan. Construction of this railroad began in April of 1883, 140 years ago. The first 5 miles of track that we're riding on today were completed between April and August of 1883, costing $11,705 to build. By 1900, the railroad was expanded another 7 miles, increasing the total track mileage to 12. The Rockton and Ryan Railroad was formed as a subsidiary of the Winnsboro Granite Company. Within the 12 miles of track that they had, they served 2 granite quarries. The first one was at a location called Ryan, where we're going to today. And the second quarry was at the farthest end of the line in a location called Anderson. Anderson Quarry became famous for producing the state stone of South Carolina, Winnsboro Blue Granite. About another 2 miles or so, we'll be seeing a structure that is made of that material in the form of a old school that stands at a place called Greenbrier Siding. As I mentioned, the Rockton and Ryan Railroad did serve the 2 granite quarries, but that's all it was built to haul. It did not haul passengers or general freight in its original service life. The railroad and the quarries continued in operation right up through the mid-1960s when they were both purchased by Mark Marietta Aggregates. Mark Marietta continued operations of both the railroad and the quarries until business started drying up in the mid-1970s. With no further business coming in, Mark Marietta decided to shut down the railroad and the quarries, and they were essentially abandoned by the end of the decade. By a show of hands, how many of you folks traveled on I-77 to get here today? Okay, that's only a handful of you. Chances are good you drove upon some of the last stone that was dug out of Ryan Quarry because it was used as the foundation for the highway. Now, about the time that Mark Marietta had abandoned the railroad, the Charleston chapter of the National Railway Historical Society was looking for a new home for its historic collection of locomotives and rolling stock. For a time, they displayed it in the Naval Yard in Charleston, but they had two issues. Firstly, the salt air didn't do the condition of the equipment any favors. And secondly, they had a problem with uncleared personnel getting onto the base to view everything. It got to the point that when the Navy shut down the base, they told the Charleston chapter, either you find a new home for your collection, or we're going to cut it up for scrap. Of course, we couldn't have that happen. So the Charleston chapter began looking for a permanent home. They approached Mark Marietta about this property, and in 1983, Mark Marietta graciously donated the first 5 miles of track, along with the yards at both Rockton and Ryan, to form the basis of the South Carolina Railroad Museum. The museum was founded in 1983, 100 years after the founding of the original Rockton and Ryan Railway, and 40 years ago this year. The South Carolina Railroad Museum has been running tourist trains here since the 1990s, adding more trackage as time and money allows. On the left-hand side across the road, you'll see a brick fireplace and chimney. Those are the remnants of an old sharecropper's cabin that used to be out there. The field through the trees on the right-hand side that's full of sunflowers is an area known as Roof Farm. Roof is spelled R-U-F-F. Besides growing sunflowers, Roof Farm also grows corn and hay.
Real big ones. Yeah.
left-hand side, through the trees, you can see some remnants of the original barn and farmhouse. After we pass this storage building here on the left-hand side, I want you guys to pay attention to a small steel shack with an American flag attached to it. This is the smallest passenger station in all of South Carolina. This is the passenger station here at Rook. Truth be told, folks, I have no idea why that structure exists. But sometimes when folks miss the train at Rockton Station, our station agent will be kind enough to drive them out here, and we use it as a flag stop to pick them up. Now you'll notice we've gone down to about walking speed on this section of track. That's because this section of track has very light rail. When I say light rail, I mean that it's light in weight. Most of the big railroads like Norfolk Southern and CSX, they have rails that weigh in the neighborhood of 130 to 140 pounds a yard. The benefit of having heavier rail is that you can support heavier locomotives and cars, and you can go much faster. But small railroads like this did not have that luxury. They had to make do with rails that weighed in the neighborhood of 65 to 90 pounds a yard. So with lighter rail, you have to tread very carefully. Across the field and the road on the left-hand side, you'll see the remnants of another fireplace and chimney there. Another sharecropper's cabin that used to be out there. I've had kids ask me, well, what happens when Santa Claus goes down the chimney? Unfortunately, I have to tell him he's going to be disappointed because there's no house left. But coming up here on the right-hand side of the train in about, I'd say a little less than a quarter of a mile, is a restored sharecropper's cabin. Coming up now on the right-hand side of the train is a small wooden pole with a white top on it. The lettering on the white top of the pole reads Summit, 584 feet. That means we're at 584 feet above sea level, the highest point on the Rockton, Ryan, and Western Railroad. From here we start going downhill towards Ryan Quarry. small regional airport, which boasts a 5,000-foot-long runway, good enough to land a medium passenger jet in the event of an emergency. You'll also notice that the railroad and the ground are not level with each other. That's because this section of track was originally built on a trestle, and that trestle was filled in over time. Section because we have a section of track that has a bit of a kink in it. Like I said, the heat doesn't do us any favors down here in South Carolina. Siding. This is where our Easter Bunny and Pumpkin Patch trains stop to let passengers off for special activities. But currently occupying the siding at Greenbrier are 5 passenger cars that belong to the museum, the first 4 of which have a very special significance. The first 4 cars in the siding used to belong to the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. From the mid-19th century until it shut down in 2017, Ringling Brothers used trains to transport the circus animals, performers, and all the equipment that they used in their shows to their various engagements. In 2017, when Ringling Brothers was shut down, they sold off all of their railroad equipment. We were lucky to get these 4 cars from the red train at auction. Coming up here on the right-hand side of the train, next to the perimeter fence for the airport, you guys might notice some headstones out there. Those are just leftovers from a haunted Halloween train that we used to run many years ago. But they're left out there as an homage to the granite hauling history of this railroad. I should stress that nobody is buried out there, but trackside plots are available if you're interested. As we approach the siding at Greenbrier, in front of the circus train cars is a small orange piece of equipment known as a ballast spreader. This is one of the maintenance of way vehicles that helps to keep our track in top shape. You'll also notice the ground being leveled next to the unloading ramp. This is for the construction of a new pavilion or gazebo that will help support our operations here at Greenbrier Siding. We're going to do a slow roll by of the circus cars so you folks can get a good look at them. The first car you'll see is the pony car. This would have contained about a dozen of the circus's show horses. Right now we use it for decoration storage. The 3 cars behind that are dormitory cars. The second car was the dormitory car for the ringmaster and the lead act. The third car held about 5 performers. And the last one held about 11 performers. As we roll by the second car, I want you guys to pay close attention to the bottom of the car. You'll notice a black tank that has a funny word beginning with the letter D. Raise your hands when you spot it. Okay, I'm seeing the hands go up. Now, how many of you folks know what a Donecker is? Okay, folks, I'm about to blow your minds. Donecker is circus slang for toilet. So that is the toilet tank on the car.
Really?
Now, the last car in the lineup is not a circus train car. This is a former Union Pacific Railroad sleeping car that was built in the 1950s. It originally carried the name Pacific Forest. It was later used by Amtrak as a dormitory car on their long-distance trains. We have plans to either make it a first-class car for our excursions or have it be part of our display train at Brockton Station. Now, as we clear the cars on the left-hand side, this beautiful structure is the school that I mentioned earlier. This is the Greenbrier School. This structure was built in 1941 out of Winnsboro blue granite, which the railroad proudly hauled. The school was in operation for about 40 years until it was shut down by the Fairfield County School District. For the last couple years, it has become a private residence. A music teacher who works for the University of South Carolina lives within the structure, and he runs his own side business out of there, making tuning pegs for violins and cellos.
Yeah, that took some time. Huh?
cut. This section of the railroad was dug out between 1907 and 1920 to give the railroad an easier grade to climb out of the quarry.
Yeah. Try to set up.
Now you folks will notice the rock on either side of the train. The rock that's on the right-hand side has a bit of a reddish appearance to it, but that's only due to the topsoil that has washed down over the years. The rock on both sides of the train is actually a fine-grained white and gray granite. Ryan Quarry used to have about 35 to 40 acres worth of it on the property. As we crawl through the cut, you guys will notice what appear to be channels in the rock face. Those channels were created by a star-face drill that went down about as far as it could into the rock. Then once they did that, the workers would put blasting powder or dynamite inside the cracks, light the charge, and then the explosion would blast the rocks apart.
Yeah, I grabbed a couple more. Is it water, buddy? You only have to. Is it water?
Coming up in about a quarter mile ahead is the overpass for Kelly Miller Drive. This is the access road that goes to the Fairfield County Airport. One of our other car hosts and narrators, Mr. Bill Eccles, jokingly calls this the shortest tunnel in all of South Carolina. But if you look on either side of the bridge, you'll notice that the abutments are made of the same granite as the rock walls.
It's crazy how I was noticing this going back to Tennessee. How they can just grow almost out of the side of rocks. Just seemingly into nothing.
That's what Linda's finding, all kinds of flowers and things popping up along the riverbank there. You know, that's the
yeah.
part where they are not supposed to cut.
Yeah.
And I had a photo the other night. I didn't tell her to have you look at it because it was growing on a real good stalk, like a woody stem, but it had a beautiful white.
In about half a mile, we're going to be coming up on the final road crossing on our trip. This is for a small country lane known as Ryan Road. Now, according to the South Carolina Department of Transportation, Ryan Road is a busy thoroughfare. But honestly, I haven't seen any more than 4 cars stop at this crossing for us to pass by. Now, according to the Department of Transportation, the road traffic has priority over the trains. So in this case, the conductor would normally have to get down off the train and flag the crossing so that we can proceed safely. But thankfully, one of our other volunteers, Mr. Robbie, has driven ahead of the train and he will be flagging the crossing for us. As we go over the crossing for Ryan Road, Mr. Robbie will be on the left-hand side. I want you guys to wave and say thank you to Robbie as we pass over the crossing. Side, we're passing mile marker number 4. We've just traveled 4 miles from Rockton Station. Ryan Quarry is only another mile away. On either side of the train, you'll notice some large boulders. These were left over from quarry production at Ryan Quarry. Mr. Bill Eccles jokingly tells me that Paul Bunyan came to Ryan Quarry once and he decided to have a throwing competition. But I don't know if Paul ever made it this far south. From its inception in 1883 until the mid-1960s, the Rockton and Ryan Railroad used steam locomotives to pull their trains. As a matter of fact, they became known throughout the country as one of the last short-line railroads in America to run with steam power. Happily, all 4 of the Rockton and Ryan steam engines have been preserved. Number 19 is preserved in the town of Greenwood, South Carolina at their own railroad museum. Sister number 31 is displayed in Waycross, Georgia. Engine 712 is down here at Ryan Quarry. And engine number 203 is being rebuilt for operation by the Three Rivers Rambler in Knoxville, Tennessee. Coming up in a quarter mile on the left-hand side of the train is the last vestige of the steam era on the Rockton and Ryan Railroad in the form of the last steam era water tank in all of South Carolina. This is the water tank that would have provided the water for the steam locomotives that pull the trains. Now this is not a wood-sided water tank like the ones you'd see in Western movies or for those of you who are old enough to remember Petticoat Junction. But it is typical of the water tanks that would have been used on small industrial railroads like this. Where the hole is in the tank is where the downspout would have been. We're now entering the Ryan Quarry complex. Coming up on the right-hand side are several buildings that were once part of the finishing plant. Several machines used to be inside the large shed that would cut down huge blocks of stone into smaller pieces for final transport. The smaller building just before the big shed is being converted into a machine shop by some of our volunteers to perform light maintenance work. As we enter the yard here at Ryan Quarry, you'll see a couple of locomotives and cars that are awaiting restoration by our volunteers. The first engine you'll see on the left-hand side is steam engine number 712. This engine was built in 1903 by Baltimore Works of Philadelphia for the Atlantic Coastline Railroad, and it was bought second-hand by the Rockton and Ryan in the 1920s. Although the engine resides on museum property, she is privately owned, and sadly her owner seems content to let her rust. But thankfully she does have a lot less foliage around her. She used to be covered in vines up until a few months ago. On either side you'll see a few small diesel engines and a few freight cars. side are new acquisitions. They came to us about 2 years ago. We have plans to convert 2 of the baggage cars into generator cars for our excursion trains so that we can provide our enclosed coaches with lights, heating, and air conditioning. You'll also notice another sleeping car in that formation. This is another Union Pacific sleeping car. This one carries the name Pacific Skies. Coming up on the left-hand side are the remnants of a conveyor belt that once loaded crushed stone into gondola cars. On the left-hand side, you might be able to see the remnants of the Rockton and Ryan locomotive shop. There's a 5-ton overhead crane inside that building. Unfortunately, we can't go on there because that property is still owned by Martin Marietta Aggregates. The small stone structure on the right-hand side is the Ryan Quarry office building. The South Carolina Railroad Museum uses this structure for their board meetings, and it is also where the passengers who ride our barbecue dinner train get off and enjoy a catered barbecue dinner.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is as far as our ride will take us. The rest of the railroad does extend beyond this location, but we have to do extensive track work before we can think of running trains any further. Okay, folks, I'd like you guys to do me a favor. Those of you on the left-hand side, stand up and face the young man at the front of the train, Mr. Ian. Those of you on the right-hand side, stand up and face me. Make sure you have all your belongings with you, because we're going to switch sides on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go.
Music sound, right?
Oh, excuse me.
Okay, so we get to see. Gary, you show me I'm ready to get by.
But it sounds like on the.
All right, folks, congratulations. You're as smart as 4th graders. Whenever we have grade schoolers on this train for field trips, they have no problem following directions. To them, this is fun. All right, folks, we're going to proceed back along the same route we took to get here so that we can go back to Rockton Station. Three blasts of the horn means we're proceeding eastbound back to Rockton Station. The small car that's in front of the Ryan Quarry office building is a scale car. This would have been used to test the accuracy of the railroad shipping scales. Now the grade coming up and out of Ryan Quarry and me going down into it is a very steep 4%. That is not an easy climb. But rest assured that engine 1276 and your engineer are up to the task and will work very hard to get us out of the quarry.
Yeah. rock walls through the cut. I don't. Sorry, I'm sorry, sir. What was the question? Enjoy your ride today. We normally do 2 tours a day, one at 10 a.m. and one at 1:30 p.m. We have the barbecue dinner cruise. They leave at 6:30 and they come back by about 9-ish. Those trips sell out fast because everybody likes the idea of going down to the quarry office and getting barbecue there. Yeah, fireflies, they come out at this time at that time of day. Yeah, we also have several schools that are trains for the family that do something well. The pumpkin patch trains run the last 2 Saturdays of October before Halloween. It's kind of a fall festival atmosphere on those rides. You arrive at Greenbrier siding where the circus train cars are. There's a pumpkin patch where the kids can pick out a pumpkin, decorate it, and take it home with them. There's carnival games for them to play, and there's a food truck on hand. And then we have our Santa Claus trains that operate the first 3 Saturdays of December before Christmas. So if you want to come back and enjoy a family ride to either celebrate Halloween or Christmas, we'd be happy to have you back. Thank you guys very much for coming to ride with us. Thank you. Absolutely. How are you guys enjoying everything? That's cool. You guys have any questions about anything?
So four steam engines,
The 4 steam locomotives, like they've been preserved. 203 operated for a short time on the Three Rivers Rambler, but every 15 years, the locomotives are required to be taken out of service by federal law, and the boiler has to be inspected to ensure safe operation. But the others have only really been cosmetically restored.
Yes, it is.
So I grew up on the West Coast. My dad ran Siemens. We had a tourist train.
Oh.
Or steam
Okay, where were you?
Mount Rainier.
Oh, Mount Rainier Scenic. Oh, well, you'll be happy to know that the Western Forest Industries Museum has reacquired control of Mount Rainier Scenic,
Yeah.
and they are going to be returning into operation shortly.
Yeah, I knew that. But yeah, that was my dad ran that.
I have not been to Mount Rainier yet, but I would love to go back when they have operation. I'm sure you're open to hear if you've been down to Portland, Oregon, Southern Pacific 4449.
You trying to capture everything? Gonna make a reel later? Gonna make a reel?
My dad and I flew out to Portland in 2005 for the NRHS convention. Rode behind it in the SPNS 700 between Portland and Wish, ran it back. First mainline trip behind steam, and it was a heady experience.
Yeah, we're going to my dad babysat the whole time. I was showing him the computer. That was my first game I ever rode.
It's a wonder you're not a member of Narcoa then. All you gotta do is just do a hearing and vision test and
That's why we came.
Out of the engines at Mount Rainier, did you have a favorite? Oh, yeah, now hold on. What's it? 15. Okay.
Or I like the quarter number 5.
Oh, quarter number 5.
Maybe.
I remember seeing quarter number 5 a lot on videotape as a kid.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the primary engines they used.
Yeah. My dad first built one. He passed 20 years ago. But yeah.
I'm sure he'd be happy to know that one of the engines that Mount Rainier got eventually spun off Stuka is back is in operation. But I'm glad you guys were able to come out and enjoy a ride with us out here. I would really love to get up to Washington State and see Mount Rainier. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for coming out to ride. folks doing?
Good.
You guys have any questions?
Got any questions for Kyle?
Yeah, what's up?
What you want to ask? He's been recording the whole time. He's gonna make a TikTok.
Oh, okay. Well, it's probably best if he splits it up into sections.
Yeah.
Actually, young man, why don't you stand up over here? Yeah, put your camera out there. Look toward the front of the truck. There you go. Leave it like that for a little bit. There you go. Yeah, just remember to pull it in when we get close to the trees, okay? We don't want you getting any scrapes or bruises. Yeah. He's gonna have a lot of editing to do. As a video editor, that's true.
We have some brakes that are dragging on one of the cars that's likely slowing the train down a little bit. So as soon as we find out what the problem is, we'll get it sorted and be on our way.
Come here. You ever seen the Flintstones? Have you ever seen the cartoon?